Welcome to another cross-border talk, which now moves to Southeastern Europe and Western Balkans, where Macedonia just had a change in its president and just passed elections, parliamentary and presidential, which gave dominant position, but still not completely hegemonic, to the VMRO-DPMNE party, a party which has been historically right-wing party or conservative populist party, and it was associated with the previous regime of stabilocracy of Gruevski. However, the change which was attempted for the last 7 years to this stabilocracy maybe has not convinced given the results. And we are now joined by a Bulgarian political analyzer who is also deputy head of the Bulgarian-Macedonian Business Forum, Vladimir Vladimirov, to have a Bulgarian reflection on the developments in Macedonia and Bulgarian-Macedonian relations. The first question will be put by my colleague, Małgorzata Kulbachevska.
Yeah, hello everybody listening or watching Cross-Border Talks, and thanks you very much, Vladimir, for accepting our invitation. We meet a few days after an election in Northern Macedonia that was described by some of my colleagues on Polish media as an earthquake, namely the SDSM party, so the Social Democratic Party of Northern Macedonia, was abruptly removed from power by the right-wing opposition. So if you could give us some background about what happened, why so massive outlooks of the voters from the Social Democratic Party, and what are the hopes of those who voted for the winning VMRO coalition?
Hello to you and to your viewers. I would like to split your question on two parts. First, those previous 6-7 years of rule of the Social Democratic Party of North Macedonia wasn't very successful from a few perspectives. Plus, it was in the time of the COVID crisis, energy crisis related with the COVID crisis. So there are many internal and foreign vectors that influenced the policy and the feeling of the Macedonian citizens, how they feel and how they see the rule of Social Democrats. Second, before the elections, the speeches of the VMRO leadership were very, very, let's say, not close to the normal political discussions, but much more like a propaganda machine. So they said to the voters that they're going to change again the name of the country, which is related with the contract, international contract with Greece. And also it is related to Bulgaria with the other international contract between North Macedonia and Bulgaria. So they promised actually the things that are not possible. Due to this fact and due to the populism in their campaign, they got most of the votes in the country. So they won the presidential elections and also almost the full majority in the North Macedonian parliament. So I can see international reasons and internal populist things from the VMRO party.
Okay, Northern Macedonia was often described as a corrupt state, as a state without perspectives, in the sense that people who wanted to find better jobs, better business perspectives also migrated from that country, and that this was also the reason of disappointment with SDSM, as this party promised a few years ago that they would actually repair many things in political and social lives, which apparently did not happen. So therefore my question is, if VMRO is coming to power into so unfavorable social conditions, also from the point of view of the business, how are they going to rule if everything you suggested that they offer are those promises concerning the name of the country and the international relations? And also you add that these promises even can't be kept.
My answer is I don't know, because the international situation, as we know, due to the war in Ukraine, the conflict in Israel and Gaza Strip, and the whole international environment is not very positive. And the only option for such a small country, poor, not very well economically developed, etc., is the European Union. And with this start, after they won the election and the new elected president does not set North Macedonia in her first official speech, is not a good sign what is going to happen in the next months and what will be the policy of the new elected president, and we are expecting the government. If they continue with this kind of messages and this kind of policies, my forecast for the North Macedonia in midterm, we say 5, 6, 7 years, is not good, due to the fact that significant part of the population of North Macedonia are ethnical Albanians. They are something like 1/4 of population of North Macedonia. And if they see that because North Macedonia and Albania are packed together in the process of enjoying of European Union. So if Albania and North Macedonia will be separated in near future, and Albania starts real negotiations with the Union, and in few years Albania became a member of the European Union, I'm not sure that Macedonia will survive as a state.
So you even expect a possible collapse of the whole state. That is, I would say, a catastrophic prediction for any country in Europe, or in fact anywhere else. And I would like to ask you then about regional contacts of Northern Macedonia with the neighbors. If Bulgaria and Greece can soon become in a kind of conflict with Northern Macedonia, then who are the partners? Who are the states with whom Northern Macedonia can build more constructive relations?
The situation in North Macedonia always been, as a territory and as a country, historically always been a place where different geopolitical vectors are crossed. So from one side is Bulgaria, from the other side is Greece, from the third side it's Albania and Kosovo, and fourth side is Serbia. Today, new elected party considers Serbia as an ally, as something like a model for the future. So they said we are going to develop our relations also with Russia, with China, with BRICS, with other options. So they are publicly saying that there are other options. But in reality, there is no another option for North Macedonia, and this is obvious. Plus, North Macedonia is a member of NATO, but the future is not very positive if they start and turn to this policy to develop relationships with Russia and China and other countries, because if we check what was the situation in Serbia, which is the biggest ally of Russia and China, you know, a week ago the Chinese president was in Serbia. Huge percentage of the Serbian GDP, it's actually loans to China on very high interest rate. It happened also in Montenegro. It happening in other countries where the Chinese are strong. So the relationship with China is something that should be considered very seriously, because the Chinese loans are coming very easily, but the Chinese are not going out very easily. So in this regard, Bulgaria and Greece will continue their efforts to help North Macedonia with all the diplomatic activities to continue its path, its journey to European Union, because they are our ally in NATO. Albania also has its influence in North Macedonia. One of the biggest parties there, it's an ethnical Albanian party. They are really pro-Albanian. The other party that is new on this election, it was established few months ago, the other Albanian, mainly Albanian party, is supported by the premier and government of Kosovo. So we have a few, all the neighbors are participating in the North Macedonian policy, any kind, anyway.
You are an expert which is knowledgeable on Bulgarian-Macedonian relations, and I have a question also about that. Just a few years ago, in 2017, when there were very good signs that Bulgarian-Macedonian relations are advancing, there was this idea that they even have a common history. This was, if I'm not mistaken, even signed in a common document between the two countries.
It's a part of the contract between the countries.
Yes. Later, some contestation started what exactly maybe this concrete common history mean, and as far as I remember, there was only agreement on the role of King Samuil, which is a medieval Bulgarian king. But on many other issues, the formulation of what this common history means didn't advance. And now I hear a very different, even maybe an opposite theory about Bulgarian-Macedonian relations. More and more people in Bulgaria claim that the two nations maybe have nothing in common. So I want to ask you about that. First, what are the reasons for this transformation, which it looks like is mutual? It's not happening only in one country, it's somehow in coordination maybe. And on the other hand, which is the better formula if we also look at the international context and maybe the what development for the two countries mean?
Well, first, we have to say that in the conversation between North Macedonia and Bulgaria, there are third parties. There is no only these two countries. Here, the participant is Serbia. Here, it's the participant also Russia. So it's much more people around the table and much more countries around the table. And as I said, there are many kind of influence in this conversation. Plus, you know, in Europe, we have too much history. And I think the best way to get out from this frozen direction, because at the moment, actually, we don't have real relationship between the two countries. It's they are absolutely on the level of zero. They are frozen. It's to put out a little bit aside the history conversation, or to leave. There is a Bulgarian North Macedonian Historical Commission that is considering and thinking over the historical events, to be leave it alone without so much political influence on it, because, you know, we have a lot of examples in Europe. It was a Polish-German commission, it was a French-German commission, and it took years and years before we stick to the point where we have a mutual understanding and mutual agreement what happened in our closest history. So I think the best way is to put this commission aside, to be leave it alone, to work in a really relaxed environment, and to focus on the things that made the European Union: infrastructure, economy, cultural context, etc., etc. Because I consider as a main problem at the moment the very low level of infrastructure between the countries. So between Sofia and Skopje are 220 kilometers, and we are traveling 3-4 hours, which is not acceptable due to the European standards. So this is first. Second, at the moment, the position of Bulgaria actually to historical issues, it's actually the position of the European Union. So European Union and the Brussels said to North Macedonia, you should first establish the new chapter in your constitution and to put the Bulgarians also there, as because in North Macedonian constitution there are ethnical rights, and there are different people and populations like North Macedonians, Albanians, Serbians, Bosniaks, etc., etc., Gypsies, and also one of the topics in the conversation between Brussels and Skopje, it's also Bulgarians as an ethnicity to be mentioned in North Macedonian constitution. So it means it should be voted in North Macedonian parliament. So now we are waiting to see what is going to happen when the new government will be established, because from one side it will be DPMNE, the ruling populist, future ruling populist party, but for the other side it's Albanian, their possible partner from party called VLEN, that is really influenced by the Kosovo policy and the Kosovo prime minister. So all the Albanians are pro-NATO, pro-European Union, absolutely Euro-Atlantic. So the partnering coalition maybe will influence the coalition to put the Bulgarians in the constitution and to start real negotiations with the European Union.
Okay, you mentioned that ties between people, businesses, cultural organizations are the way forward for the relations, not so much the identity discussions. What was done for the advancement of these ties in the last 7 years, which I presume from media that were maybe supposedly to be better for the Bulgarian-Macedonian ties, given that now there is a huge reaction in Bulgarian media that a lot of anti-Bulgarian propaganda took place in the election campaign. So presumably maybe the SEDSM rule was better for Bulgaria, but what in fact changed and what is the current state of these relations on human and business and cultural level?
First, they signed a contract with Bulgaria, which is a very big step ahead. This contract is related to many issues that were issues in the past. Now we have this contract that it's somehow resolving those problems. Second, during last 7 years, it was significant development in regard of infrastructure. Bulgaria and North Macedonia are not connected by train. So at the moment, in this moment, there are construction works from North Macedonian side. And in a few years, we will be connected also by road, by train, railways. So it is a big and significant development, because once it happened from the Black Sea to the Adriatic Sea, we will have connection also by train. In the Bulgarian part, most of the infrastructure is built. What's left is 60 kilometers from existing highway to Greece, to be also connected next to the border with North Macedonia. From the North Macedonian side, it's also there are development of high speed roads, and in the end of this year they will be done. So there are significant infrastructural developments that I believe will help for more traffic, more people coming in both countries, more tourists. And what we need is a relaxation of the political dispute and to leave the people, as it happened in the whole Europe few years after the Second World War between France and Germany. There are more than 200 cross-border points. So this is the future. No border, connectivity, exchange of people, ideas, and of course business.
Okay, so for the final question, I'd like to ask you about the immediate challenges for the new government of Northern Macedonia once it's formed. Assuming that the members of this government will understand, just as you persuade us, that there is no other way forward than the European Union with all the cultural baggage of the European Union, and not some dreams of working with Chinese or Russians or whoever. What are the most immediate challenges they need to overcome on the way to the negotiating the European future?
Two main challenges. First, it's a political, because before they start, they are already in some kind of isolation. So there are statements from Greece, from Bulgaria, from the Ursula von der Leyen in this regard, from Charles Michel. So let's say that way, non-existing future government of North Macedonia already have a yellow carton on the political field. And the second is, of course, economy. Macedonian economical situation is not bright one, is not good one. So they have to challenge with the consequences of the COVID crisis, energy crisis. The surroundings of North Macedonia also are not very developed, like Kosovo. Kosovo has a problem with Serbia. Relations with Albania are not in a very good level. So they have to start real conversation for the future with themselves internally in the North Macedonian society. And also they should start the real and honest conversation with their neighbors, mainly those that are NATO members, because we are allies in the end of the day. Greece, Bulgaria, and Albania are members of NATO. So we have to find a way, both sides, to start the real conversation for infrastructure, for economy, and for the European accession. Everything else is going to be very, very worse scenario for North Macedonia and its citizens, and they will continue leaving the country searching for better life in the European Union.
Okay, so I think this is the time to close our conversation, to close the interview. I think that the most important message we heard today is that history is history and should be studied by experts in history, by historians. But what matters the most for people living here and now is the future. And we need to work together, work in a dialogue on a future which is related to connectivity, economy, exchange of ideas. And when we reach this, perhaps we can also have a look at our common past from a different angle.
I offered to the Bulgarian government and the North Macedonian government in the past, when we had these talks, to start conversation for history when the average salary in both countries is on the average level of the European Union. Then, relaxed, people are going to speak easily for the history. Then now, where in the end of the day, everyone is opening its refrigerator and the situation is not a bright one.
Yeah, a very important remark as well. Yes, let's discuss history when the most important issues of today are resolved. And with this, I'd like to thank you, Vladimir, for being our guest in Cross Border Talks. And I'd like to remind everybody listening or watching that we are present on all the biggest social platforms. We are on Facebook, Spotify. We are also in SoundCloud, but we have also the Twitter profile and the website, which includes a lot of video and written content. So subscribe not to miss anything. And thank you for being with us today. See you again.